Throughout WWE history, the United States Championship has stood as a symbol of pride, fighting spirit, and the relentless drive to rise to the top. However, not everyone who held this title made fans proud. There were times when the championship fell into the hands of wrestlers who diminished its prestige, from those who never truly fit the role, to others who treated it like a meaningless accessory. Today, we're taking a look back at some of the darkest periods in the history of this once proud title, moments when the United States Championship felt more ordinary than ever. Let's get started. Wrestling Sphere, go! 1. Dean Ambrose, 2013. Dean Ambrose captured the United States Championship in the spring of 2013, right when he and The Shield were at the peak of their dominance. At that time, Ambrose stood out with his wild, reckless persona, a character full of potential, capable of making any title he held feel important again. So when he won the belt in May 2013 and kept it for a full year, fans expected this reign to restore the United States title's lost prestige. Unfortunately, that never happened. The problem wasn't that Ambrose didn't deserve it. It was that he practically forgot he was the champion. While Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were constantly defending the tag team titles, Ambrose rarely competed in singles matches for his own championship. During his 351-day reign, he defended the title on television only 7 times, a shockingly low number for someone expected to elevate the belt's value. Sure, he defended it at non-televised house shows, but those matches meant nothing to WWE's ongoing storylines. As a result, fans saw Ambrose carrying the belt more as a prop than as a symbol of dominance. What made things worse was the way WWE chose to end his reign. Ambrose didn't lose the title in an epic showdown or through a memorable storyline. Instead, he was simply eliminated in a battle royal, all just to pave the way for the Shield split from the Authority. No drama, no defining moment, and no one gained anything from his loss. In the end, Ambrose's long but empty reign became the perfect example of how meaningless a championship can become when the creative direction fails to give it purpose. For that reason, his 2013 run remains one of the most disappointing United States Championship reigns in WWE history. 2. Santino Marella, 2012. Whether you loved or hated Santino Marella, and honestly, it's hard not to like him, there's no denying that he was one of the funniest and most entertaining characters WWE ever had. In an era where audiences were growing more demanding, getting consistent laughs every time you appeared on screen was no small feat, especially when you had to stick to the exact script written by the higher-ups. Santino managed to do just that. He was the embodiment of pure comedy, bringing levity even to WWE's most intense moments. However, humor alone doesn't build a legacy in professional wrestling. Santino might have been the heart of countless funny segments, but from an in-ring standpoint, WWE never truly gave him the chance to prove he could be taken seriously. So when the company decided to put the United States Championship on him in 2012, it wasn't a reward for hard work, it was a running joke that lasted 160 days. His victory over Jack Swagger shocked and delighted fans. Many hoped he would breathe new life into the title, just like he had done with the Intercontinental Championship 4 years earlier. But that didn't happen. There were no standout title defenses, no compelling storylines, just more comedy sketches branded under the name of Champion. Instead of elevating the United States title, Santino's reign turned it into a prop for slapstick entertainment. Eventually, his run ended quietly when Cesaro, a true European technician, defeated him during a pre-show match. There was no fanfare, no big send-off, just the end of a reign that had long overstayed its welcome. It served as a reminder that, no matter how likable you are, being a champion requires more than just making people laugh. And that's exactly why Santino Marella is remembered as one of the worst United States champions in WWE history. 3. Alberto Del Rio, 2015. At first glance, Alberto Del Rio's 2015 return, and his immediate win of the United States Championship, seemed like the perfect move. After John Cena had restored the title's prestige with his legendary Open Challenge run, fans hoped Del Rio would keep that momentum alive, continuing to elevate the belt's reputation. Instead, what followed turned out to be one of the most disappointing reigns of the decade. It all began at Hell in a Cell on October 25, 2015, when Del Rio made a surprise return and defeated John Cena to capture the title. Yet rather than delivering a thrilling, emotional match to close out Cena's iconic run, their bout felt short, cold, and lifeless. There was no build-up, no emotional payoff, Just a flat result clearly meant to remove the belt from Cena as he was taking time off. In the end, Del Rio's victory carried no real meaning, even though on paper, he had just ended one of the greatest US title reigns in WWE history. To make matters worse, WWE's choice of Del Rio, a veteran who had already achieved plenty, completely killed the chance to elevate a new star. That win could have launched the next big name, but instead, the company played it safe and dull. During his 3-month reign, Del Rio did nothing memorable. He was stuck in uninspired storylines, put on lackluster matches, and failed to inject any energy into the championship. By the time he lost the title at Royal Rumble 2016, most fans hardly cared. In just a few months, everything Cena had rebuilt around the US title collapsed. What had once been a proud symbol of dedication and passion became an empty prop again. And if there's anyone who deserves to be remembered among the worst United States champions ever, Alberto Del Rio is definitely one of them. 4. Kalisto, 2016. To be fair, Alberto Del Rio wasn't the only one responsible for devaluing the US title. The man who traded the belt back and forth with him, Kalisto, also played a big part in draining its significance. It's a shame, because Kalisto was once seen as a performer full of potential, yet his run became a painful example of wasted talent. Before joining WWE, Emmanuel Rodriguez, better known as Samurai del Sol, was one of Mexico's most respected luchadors. His high-flying style, incredible speed, and creative offense made him a rising star in the world of lucha libre. But once he entered WWE, everything changed. Rebranded as Kalisto, he was forced into the company's pre-made mold. The unique flair that once defined him was reduced to a few repetitive moves, while his character became a watered-down version of a second-rate superhero. So when WWE gave him the United States Championship in 2016, it didn't feel like a reward for his talent. It felt like a desperate attempt to manufacture the next Rey Mysterio. Kalisto defeated Alberto Del Rio for the title, but the excitement faded almost instantly. His reign lacked engaging storylines, his title defenses were forgettable, and his promos became unintentionally comedic, especially his infamous "good lucha things" line that became a running joke for its awkwardness. As the weeks passed, fan interest completely disappeared, and when Rusev won the title back, audiences almost sighed in relief. Kalisto's reign not only weakened the US Championship's credibility but also stalled his own career. From a promising luchador once hailed as the future of the division, he turned into a forgotten name, a clear reminder that talent alone isn't enough when a performer is trapped in a system that doesn't know how to use them. 5. R-Truth, 2019. R-Truth had previously held the United States Championship back in 2010, but it was his 2019 reign that truly stood out, and not in a good way. In 2010, Truth was still viewed as a legitimate competitor, capable of performing in major matches. Nearly a decade later, that image had completely shifted. By 2019, he had become more of a comedic character, a fun, lovable entertainer who made fans laugh more than he made them cheer in awe. And while WWE always benefits from having performers who bring humor to the show, giving a major championship to someone whose sole purpose is comic relief was a major misstep. When R-Truth defeated Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship early in 2019, the crowd wasn't thrilled, they were confused. The title had just started to regain some credibility after years of inconsistency, and suddenly, it became a punchline again. Truth's goofy mannerisms, hilarious monologues, and moments of forgetfulness were funny, but nobody truly saw him as a serious champion. Worse yet, the person sacrificed for this comedic reign was Nakamura, one of WWE's most technically gifted and charismatic stars, someone capable of restoring the championship's prestige through top-tier matches. Instead, WWE ended his run abruptly just to deliver a few minutes of short-lived entertainment. No one dislikes R-Truth. In fact, he's universally adored. He's charming, naturally funny, and a joy to watch. But the truth is, he should never have been in the title picture. R-Truth shines brightest when he's the comic side character who brings levity to the show, not when he's holding a championship that's supposed to represent excellence. If WWE truly wants to preserve the value of its titles, they should let him do what he does best. Make people laugh, not make them stop caring about the belt. 6. Matt Hardy, 2008. By 2008, WWE's ECW brand had become a shadow of its former self. Once synonymous with hardcore chaos and rebellion, It had been watered down into a dull extension of SmackDown, a far cry from the cult phenomenon it once was. If you needed a comparison, ECW at that point was like Betamax, something that once promised to revolutionize entertainment but faded into obscurity instead. Sadly, Matt Hardy got caught right in the middle of that downfall. When WWE moved the United States Championship from SmackDown to ECW in an attempt to breathe new life into the dying brand, Hardy was chosen as the man to carry that burden. On paper, it seemed like a smart move, giving a respected, popular veteran a chance to elevate both the title and the brand. In reality, though, it did the opposite. The championship entered one of its dullest periods ever. Matt Hardy was talented, experienced, and always beloved by fans. But his 2008 reign as United States Champion was forgettable at best. There were no compelling storylines, no exciting rivalries, and no standout moments that made the title feel important. The championship quietly faded from relevance, buried under meaningless mid-card matches and uninspired booking. When Hardy eventually lost the title to Shelton Benjamin at the Great American Bash, it happened so uneventfully that most fans barely noticed. There was no shocking twist, no revenge arc, and nothing memorable enough to keep people talking. Matt Hardy's 2008 reign serves as a clear reminder that sometimes, no matter how skilled or beloved a performer may be, they can't save a championship, or a brand, when the company itself has already stopped caring. 7. Bret Hart, 2010. Hearing the name Bret the Hitman Hart listed among the worst champions of anything almost sounds absurd, especially for those who grew up admiring him. Bret Hart was the embodiment of technical excellence, precision, and pure professionalism inside the ring. Throughout his legendary career, he delivered countless classics, turning every match into a masterclass in wrestling artistry. Yet, ironically, his 2010 reign as United States Champion became a faint and bittersweet mark in an otherwise shining legacy. At his peak, Bret held numerous prestigious titles and even brought honor to the original U.S. Championship back in the WCW days. But everything changed after the infamous kick from Goldberg, which caused a severe concussion and ultimately ended his in-ring career. The injury not only forced him to retire but also led to serious health issues, including a stroke. So when WWE decided to let Bret Hart hold the United States Championship again in 2010, fans were left both shocked and puzzled. This time, Bret was no longer the sharp, calculating Hitman fans once knew. He wasn't actually wrestling. The title match was more symbolic, staged in Toronto as a heartfelt tribute to his hometown supporters. But rather than being uplifting, the moment carried a sense of melancholy. Instead of adding another glorious chapter to his legend, it only reminded everyone how far removed he was from his prime. No one can deny Bret Hart's greatness, a true Canadian hero and one of WWE's most enduring icons. Yet, when it comes to his 2010 United States Championship reign, even the most devoted fans would struggle to call it a triumph. 8. Bobby Lashley, 2006. Throughout WWE history, the United States Championship was often seen as a stepping stone, a title meant to help young talents prove their worth before reaching main event status. But in reality, it rarely lived up to that purpose. Unlike the Intercontinental title, which launched countless legends, the U.S. Championship sometimes became more of a burden than a blessing. Bobby Lashley's 2006 reign is the perfect example. When Lashley first arrived on SmackDown, WWE had enormous faith in him. With his chiseled physique, explosive power, and serious demeanor, he had all the tools to become a top star. To fast-track his rise, WWE decided to crown him United States Champion, clearly positioning him as the future face of the company. Unfortunately, that plan backfired. Not long after winning the title, Lashley lost it to Finlay on an episode of SmackDown, and that defeat shattered the momentum he had built. What was supposed to be a dominant run turned into a setback that exposed how unprepared he was for the spotlight. The very championship meant to elevate his career instead highlighted WWE's impatience and poor timing. Fans quickly realized that Lashley wasn't ready to carry that kind of responsibility yet. Instead of helping him break through, his 2006 U.S. title reign became proof that WWE had pushed him too soon. It would take years, and a complete reinvention, before Lashley finally fulfilled his potential. But by then, he was no longer the same Bobby Lashley of 2006. 9. Bobby Roode, 2018. Bobby Roode was one of the most talented wrestlers WWE ever had, skilled, charismatic, and experienced, with all the makings of a true main event star. In TNA, he was a 2-time world champion, an 8-time tag team champion, and one of the men who helped elevate that company to its peak. When he arrived in NXT in 2016, Roode instantly lived up to his reputation. With his signature glorious persona, he defeated Shinsuke Nakamura to capture the NXT Championship, marking the pinnacle of his career. But all that glory seemed to vanish the moment he was called up to the main roster in 2017. The man who had once been celebrated as a top-tier performer in NXT suddenly found himself reduced to mid-card status, drifting through unimportant feuds and meaningless matches. Vince McMahon apparently saw Roode as solid, but not special. So when he captured the vacant United States Championship in January 2018, instead of feeling like a triumphant milestone, it felt hollow. The moment Roode raised the title should have been one of pride, but the SmackDown crowd that night barely reacted. The silence in the arena spoke volumes, and it reflected just how little excitement surrounded both the title and Roode's run. Over the next 54 days, his reign failed to produce a single memorable storyline or standout match. WWE offered him no creative direction, and Roode's time as champion faded into obscurity. When he lost the belt to Randy Orton at Fastlane, it wasn't just the title he dropped, it was his chance to prove himself as a legitimate star. A performer as gifted as Bobby Roode deserved so much more, but sadly, his 2018 United States Championship reign became the most forgettable chapter of his once glorious career. 10. Zack Ryder, 2011. In 2011, Zack Ryder became the symbol of self-made success in WWE, and also the perfect example of how the system could crush anyone who dared to create their own spotlight. When WWE had no plans to push him, Ryder took matters into his own hands through social media. His YouTube show, Z, True Long Island Story, racked up millions of views, turning him from a forgettable mid-carder into a fan-favorite sensation that the WWE Universe couldn't get enough of. Ryder's popularity grew so massive that WWE could no longer ignore it. They were forced to acknowledge his momentum, giving him a long-awaited shot at glory, and the United States Championship was his reward. At TLC 2011, Ryder defeated Dolph Ziggler to an eruption of cheers, holding his first-ever championship high above his head as the crowd exploded with joy. It was a beautiful, heartwarming moment, proof that passion, persistence, and fan support could actually break through WWE's corporate ceiling. But that moment of triumph didn't last. Instead of capitalizing on Ryder's organic rise and turning him into a true breakout star, WWE quickly extinguished the spark. Less than a month later, Ryder lost the title to Jack Swagger, and shortly after, he was pushed right back down the card, reduced once again to a background role. His title reign came and went so quickly that many fans barely remembered it had even happened. Zack Ryder's meteoric rise and sudden downfall remain one of WWE's most painful lessons. If you make yourself a star without the company's approval, they won't hesitate to dim your light. Ryder achieved something incredible. He proved that fan power could create a movement. Tragically, that very success became the reason his push was cut short. 11. Orlando Jordan, 2005. In 2005, WWE still believed that a muscular physique and a big smile were enough to make a star, and no one illustrated that flawed thinking better than Orlando Jordan. He didn't possess exceptional skills, a powerful in-ring style, or storytelling ability like later stars such as Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, or AJ Styles. Yet, with his well-proportioned build and polished appearance, Jordan was seen as a potential star WWE could trust. He initially appeared alongside The Undertaker, an opportunity many wrestlers could only dream of. Later, he became a villain in JBL's Cabinet, a faction portrayed as a corporate power dominating SmackDown. When WWE chose him to defeat John Cena and win the United States Championship, the company believed the title could elevate Jordan to a main event villain, a key figure in the brand's future. But it was all an illusion. Jordan failed to connect with the audience or leave any lasting impression during his brief reign. He held the title but created no memorable moments, delivered no quality matches, and completely lacked the aura of a true champion. The low point came when Chris Benoit defeated him in just 25 seconds, a loss that completely overshadowed the title he once held. After that defeat, Orlando Jordan quickly disappeared from SmackDown, and his name faded from fans' memories. WWE had hoped he would become a major star, but in the end, he left behind only one of the most forgettable and meaningless United States Championship reigns in history. 12. The Big Show, 2003. When Eddie Guerrero was given the chance to become the first United States champion under the WWE banner, fans believed the title would embody the true SmackDown spirit, highlighting wrestlers with skill, passion, and strong personalities. Things started promisingly, until Eddie lost the championship to the Big Show. Eddie dropping the title wasn't entirely shocking, as he was moving toward bigger storylines. But losing it to Big Show was a real disappointment. Show was a giant with immense power, yet he didn't represent the values the United States Championship stood for. He wasn't a symbol of pride and ambition. Instead, the belt looked more like an ornamental accessory placed on the wrong man. During Big Show's short reign, the initial prestige of the newly introduced title was nearly extinguished. Fans who had been excited about the championship quickly lost interest as Show relegated it to a secondary role in his own storylines. The low point came during a triple threat match with Show, Kurt Angle, and John Cena for a WWE Championship opportunity at WrestleMania. The United States title was completely ignored, and nobody cared about it anymore. Fortunately, John Cena regained the championship at WrestleMania 20, ushering in a new era. But Big Show's tenure remains a dim, forgettable period, a time when the United States Championship temporarily lost its soul. And those were the most forgettable moments in the history of the United States Championship. Which reign surprised or disappointed you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the exciting videos from Wrestling Sphere.